genre.
In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the ideal. I'm Sam Gash, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. I usually like to start these intros with a quote from the movie, but the only quote I could possibly use is zoom, zoom, zoom. So Celeste, is Zenon Girl of the 21st Century a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
So, I wanted to keep singing with you, but I didn't know if I was supposed to
That's
be.
Fair.
Okay. I would have done it. I totally would have done it.
I was talking about watching this movie with a friend of mine, and just talking about the movie, she was like, well, I gotta rewatch it now. And then, in our text thread, she was like, zoom, zoom, zoom.
Uh-huh.
To which I responded, make your heart go.
Boom, boom.
Boom. There's
boom.
three of them.
Boom, boom, boom.
But she didn't do the call and response didn't work, and I was like, but no.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
just
did it to you again. Okay.
I hadn't even gotten to the full, I haven't even gotten to the end of the movie where they finally sing the song. But I still that call and response is so burned into me.
Uh-huh. Try it again at the end of this podcast, and we'll see how it does.
I mean,
So I might just leave you hanging for fun and see what happens.
Let's find out. What a fun adventure we're about to go on.
So anyway, but you did ask an actual question, which is, should it...
Will it, or should it be remade?
I think it will be remade.
I think that's true. Disney loves saying, hey, what do we own? Let's just do that again.
Yes, and actually, I hadn't even realized that I guess they did remake one of their originals already, which is Under Wraps. Do you remember that movie?
The Mummy one?
Yes. I don't know why they chose that to be their first of all their movies, but
What?
I noticed that the other day when I was doing a little Googling, and that's the one they decided. So, and they did a sequel. Not only did they remake it, they did a sequel of the remake. Anyways.
Wild choices.
So it's a matter of time.
Yeah, clearly. It's clearly some exec's child's favorite movie.
Oh, of course.
And that's just how that works.
Or at this point, it's some exec's favorite movie.
That is also possible.
Let me be clear. I had a meeting with ABC Signatory General, and they talked about Disney Channel original movies, and if anyone or I had ever an idea to remake them. They are already on this track of trying to figure out, can we make...
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. That's amazing.
I mean...
So, Smart House.
Smart House. I mean, Halloween Town is absolutely going to be a TV series.
Yeah, oh my God. The fact that it hasn't yet.
Yes. Oh God, there's so many other ones.
13th Year, Luck of the Irish.
Brink.
Brink.
I loved that.
Any one of the ones where the girl talks to the horse. Motocross. I think the lead from this, whatever that name of the actress is, I think was in a mermaid one.
Why don't I remember? Wait. There is a mermaid one.
Yeah.
It was the lead from Zenon, though?
Well, because there's two. There's a mermaid one, and then there's 13th Year where the boy turns into the mermaid.
Maybe I'm just thinking of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember.
There's a wide range.
It's been a while. The important thing is that you bought a horse for a bag of peanuts, and then you trained it back, and you made the horse listen to music, and now he's a champion.
I mean... Classic hero's journey.
Classic hero's journey.
Joseph Campbell at his best.
Saving the cat, and then you teach that cat to win a race. So Celeste, for people who are tuning in and aren't familiar with you just based on your voice, tell us a little bit about yourself.
People don't know me by my voice?
I know!
Oh my goodness, I've done so many podcasts. Maybe two, I don't know. So I am a TV writer, a comedy writer. My full name, Celeste Klaus is my full name, like Santa, like the mythical man. And
The what?
Oh, shoot.
Oh.
You do have explicit on this podcast, right? Kids aren't listening to this? Great.
Whenever I do an
We're all
upload
good.
to YouTube, it's like, is this for kids? No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So, Celeste Klaus,
Yes.
like the fictional character.
I'm so sorry.
So tell us about the stuff
I'm
you've
really you're having a hard time already. I don't do
God.
call and response. I ruined Christmas for you. Though,
if you're ruining Christmas for a Jewish guy,
I was just gonna
think
say
it's
I don't
fine.
think it's okay. We're good. But yeah, no, TV writer, comedy writer. I've worked on several shows. The last show I was on was Acapulco on Apple. Wrote for that. Wrote Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Single Parents.
That's a fun one to have gotten to work on.
It was a great show, and I'm still sad about it.
I bet. Yeah, musicals are having such a hard time. The fact that Schmigadoon got a second season is cool, and then it just got just yanked out from under us.
Surprised, because I figured people found that show over like COVID.
Yeah, something
right?
like that.
Like
there's a lot of things that people found over COVID that then they were like, oh, I can go back outside, and then abandon things.
That's sad.
And it's sad.
Anyways.
But the important thing is we'll always have Blown Away. But yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, thank you so much for joining me for this episode.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about your history with DCOMs and with Zenon in particular.
I mean, as a child born in the late 80s, I pretty much grew up with Disney Channel original movies. This was like childhood, right? Like it was Nickelodeon and DCOMs.
Yeah. As a family, we would get together that one time a month when the new DCOM was premiering, and we'd all watch it together.
Did you do the like Wonderful World of Disney thing too beforehand? It was like before that, right? Like they used to do the Wonderful World of Disney was like a Sunday night, 8 p.m. There'd be like a movie.
I don't have a specific memory of this because someone didn't draw Mickey Mouse ears with a glowing rod.
Okay, fair enough. So that was, but that then came Disney. So like my family used to do that, but then like then came once we got because we didn't have cable when I was like real little. And then we finally got cable because I was like I want Rugrats and other things, please. And so like we finally did it, and then we got Disney Channel, and then it was just like these. I mean, especially Zenon was like I think one of the first ones I was obsessed with.
Well, a Zenon's got to do what a Zenon's got to do.
Yes, Zenon's got to do.
Xenon's got to be like one of the first like big ones.
Well, I think it was too. It was
like especially just looking at it, like watching this movie, you're like, oh, this movie had a budget.
And that's saying something now for when you watch it and you're like, oh, those are the graphics. Okay, but like at the time,
I didn't think it was that bad. Like the spaceship wasn't that amazing, but they had a spaceship. They had like a CGI spaceship.
They did.
And it's like
they had to build a lot of sets.
1999.
Like, yeah, I think it did a pretty good job.
Like, I don't think they were in a position to really recycle the Red Dwarf set. I think at that time it was still being used.
We'll get into the CGI eventually. But yeah, no, Zenon was great. Zenon was one of the big ones.
I've toyed with this before. I think I've mentioned at some point on the podcast, like at some point I feel like I want to do a season that is exclusively DCOMs. This is not that season, but if enough people tell me that they want that, I've had a couple other people say, I want that, I will make it happen.
I support this 100%.
But let's talk about Zenon.
Let's talk about Zenon.
Like, I rewatched this movie a couple nights ago, and I think I sent you a message like it held up surprisingly well.
Yes, it did. I was like watching, and I was like, I don't know if this story works. Like, and also just like the charm of it.
Yeah,
that's like the
charm of it lets it get away because there's certainly things that like. There are a lot of coincidences, like, Mr. Lutz happened to drop the disc, or, Raven Simone happened to find the disc.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, one of those, like, kind of, like, coincidence. Like, it relies on a lot of coincidences, but everyone's so charming and it's clearly having such an amazing time.
Yes.
That it's forgivable.
You have to forgive, because, like, we've now established we both love DCOM movies, but, like... You have to forgive a DCOM movie. Like, when I say, like, the story holds up, I mean, like, for a Disney Channel original movie, like, with a bunch of 13-year-olds, like, the story's pretty decent.
Good.
And, like, there's a lot that happened. I was at home, and I was trying to tell... My husband has never seen this movie, because apparently he wasn't a child at the same time as me, even though he was. And he was like, what happens it? And I'm start explaining the movie, just, like, the first 30 minutes of the movie, and he's like... There's still more? I was like, we're only 30 minutes in. Yeah. I was like, they fit a lot in there.
They fit so much. They burn through plot.
Uh-huh.
It was wild. Like, they didn't linger. They didn't talk about what was happening. They just went.
Mm-hmm.
I have so much respect for that.
Yeah. From, scene one, it was like, here's the things we're establishing. And, like, that, like, you're in it. You're just there. You're going.
The one thing that I thought was really funny is that the floppy-haired 90s love interest.
Yes.
Who, honestly, we can all agree has the best hairstyle of anybody.
For your listeners out there who cannot see you. You definitely have a little bit of the floppy haircut.
I absolutely have the floppy hair.
It's the 90s curtain, like.
Absolutely. It's, you are lucky to have been born with 2 cowlicks. Why not lean in? Which is, in fact, true. But, like, I realize that he's kind of an exposition machine. Like, that's kind of all he does.
Oh, yeah.
But it works. That's all he needs to be. He just needs to be an exposition machine and dreamy.
And he does. Yeah, he does a dreamy stare on occasion. He just kind of like looks at her, and you're like, all right.
I didn't look to see what he was doing now. Like there were a couple people.
Oh, I can tell you.
Oh, so, please do.
Have you ever watched the show Everwood? First of all.
No.
He went on to be the lead of that show.
Oh, good for him. Good for Greg.
Good for Greg, also named Greg in real life.
His real life name is Greg?
His real name
is Greg. God.
So he went on to do Everwood, which I was a Disney Channel kid, but I was like also a WB kid. Like that. For sure. I mean, yes. And so I watched the hell out of that show. But I mean, that show was like him and Emily Vandekamp, who like went on to do that show Revenge.
Yeah.
And then Chris Pratt was in it. Like,
weird.
Yes, it like wild. So he did that. He ended up having that show, and then now he directs.
Ooh.
And he does a lot of like CW directing, like superhero shows and like that kind of thing. That's where he's at.
Oh man, that's dope. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a fun trajectory. Because we know that Zenon has had a very successful career being on Days of Our Lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome.
And General Hospital.
Oh, she was on General Hospital too?
Yeah.
She's like the soap queen.
She just lives on soaps now.
Good for her. That's
amazing.
Incredible. Yeah, that's so cool. So it's going to be hard for us to cover every point of interest within this movie. However, there's too much.
Too many.
Largely, how does Zenon begin?
So, Zenon begins on a space station.
What?
In outer space.
The outer space?
The outer space. And you know this because in scene 1, you can see the Earth out her window.
It's true.
But no, it like opens on a girl. She's waking up for the day. She's about to go to school. And like you realize that her life is on the space station. And like it is within that first scene, like it sets the tone of like, thank God I'm here. I never have to go to Earth and like live down there. We see she's kind of like a troublemaker. She's late for class, like, but she's living her best life, like riding up and down the hallways of the space station on like, what is she on? Like a board, like a, I don't know. She's on like a scooter at one point or something.
I don't recall that, but I believe you.
I don't know. Like it's great. But then she finds out that her dreamy crush musician is coming to have the first concert in space.
I just realized something truly terrible.
What?
Of all the people I cast in this movie, the one person I forgot to cast was Protozoa. Oh no.
It's okay. I got you.
I'm certain you do. So Protozoa has this announcement that he's going to be performing the first concert in space at this space station.
And not only that, Sam, but he's having a contest.
Contest?
You know what happens if you win this contest?
What happens if you win this
contest?
contest?
You get to dance on stage with Protozoa during the concert.
At the cafeteria in front of all of my friends?
In the smallest stage possible that we're going to try to make look bigger with dancing and wide angle lenses, or no, close shots.
I don't know what Taylor Swift would have done with that stage.
You know what? She would have made it work because she's a queen.
But yes, it's very much a elementary school cafeteria size stage.
It is the cafeteria at one point in the movie.
It's a cafeteria several times in the movie.
Yes.
It's a space station. They have limited real estate.
Mm-hmm, very limited.
But so basically what's happening in this movie is that Zenon's parents are both scientists. They're doing space science. Science. Zenon is having the best time of her life just being a kid in a space station. What a great place to grow up. She's going to go outside the space station to see a true supernova, which is not how that works. But it doesn't matter.
The spacewalk, yeah.
The spacewalk. And then
she does the spacewalk.
And she should not have done that.
With her friends at night by herself, hooks herself up in a spacesuit and leaves the ship to go into outer space.
Good for her. I mean, bad for her. She got in deep trouble. And she gets threatened. If you do that again, if you do anything bad, especially when the guy who's funding the space station comes to visit, AKA you're grounded.
Elon Musk of 1999.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like, this movie is weirdly anti-capitalist.
Yes, and at the same time, like, so, like, here's all the technology that will be available to you in just a couple decades.
Let's talk about that technology, because when they sit down to their classroom and, oh my god, look at all these computers in the classroom, and they're the blockiest, 90s-est computers I've ever seen.
But they're all using them, because computers are the future.
I mean, of course they are. I'm sure they were 10 cents each. Like, I'm sure they're running their 56K modems.
I wish I could have seen one of them just playing Oregon Trail.
Yeah, well, I mean, the important thing is that if any of them got any messages, they would let us know that you've got mail.
Mm-hmm. And their teacher would have not been happy.
Nope, not at all. But, like, it was very, like, back and forth technology, which was very funny.
But then their teacher was also a hologram.
Their teacher was also a hologram.
So there were super blocky computers that were clearly from the 90s, but then the future tech of the hologram teacher.
This was the most 90s futuristic. It's like fashion and design peaked in the 90s and then never stopped. Because they're all dressed like what people dress like for 90s themed parties, but that's just what they dress like.
But there was like such an 80s flair to it too. Like,
oh yeah?
It was like, because like it was like they were all in pinks and turquoises and like all had like spandex underneath their real clothes.
Yeah.
And like it was like 80s and 90s meets like what we think the future is like.
Kinda, yeah.
A lot of vests.
Lot of vests. But just on the space station, that was not the fashion on Earth.
No.
Fashion on Earth was clothes.
It was very normal.
Which is interesting, which leads you to wonder, how'd they get the weird... Someone on that space station, their future space job was just making clothes.
Yes.
Because, like, even the kids, they, like, blinged themselves out and, like, made jewelry by going dumpster diving for, like, space science trash.
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to be relevant when Raven-Symoné finds the disc that the bad guy used to put a virus in the space station. But anyway, space Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And, like, the movie's, like, anti-capitalist because, like, of course this movie's like, yeah, of course the government wasn't able to afford a giant space station. It's some rich guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, that's a huge problem because as soon as his numbers start to dip a little bit, he's going to blow the space station up for the insurance money.
Yeah, so that is the whole plot. That is like the whole problem that Zenon is facing in this movie.
A wildly modern problem for a movie from 25 years ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So he comes on the space, and her parents have told her now, like, you need to be on your best behavior, no more of this, no spacewalking and, like, almost killing yourself while this guy's here. So he comes on the space station, and, like, they're all like, kiss his butt, we need more money, more funding for our experiments.
To continue to survive in space, money please.
Uh-huh. And, of course, she sees his, like, right-hand man, Mr. Lutz, being super shady, and he is going to put a computer virus, a computer virus, onto the space station, thereby shutting down all power and killing everybody, I guess.
Yep, that is exactly what they want to do.
Yeah, like you said, collect the insurance money for his boss.
Yep.
And
that's the plan.
Zenon sees it, but instead of being the hero, she gets in trouble because she's in a restricted area.
Yep.
And no one believes her.
She gets grounded.
And what does grounded mean in space, Sam?
It means you don't get to be in space anymore. You have to go live with Aunt Judy.
On Earth.
Oh! Not extrastellar lunaris.
Major.
Not, totally minor.
Totally minor.
Totally minor.
Okay, wait, hold on. We have to, like, pause to talk about the dialogue. Like, I'm
wearing a Zetas Lapidus shirt.
That's amazing. If you guys could see his shirt, it's amazing.
So, former guest of the show, Cameron Brown / Dexter, I don't know which last name he's going with, who was on to remake Avatar, the James Cameron version, briefly had a t-shirt company where they made, like, Disney-inspired t-shirts and stuff. And one of them was a Zetas Lapidus shirt, which I am now currently wearing.
And I want it.
I'm sure there's some available somewhere.
I probably can't. I'm sure I could go on Etsy and
but I don't know if it'll be
this the shit out of that.
This 90s-rific.
No, I probably won't.
But still pretty great.
But the slang is awesome. It's funny at first because it's, like, so overdone. But then, like, you get to a point where you start forgetting and it just seems natural. Yeah. And you're like, oh, so just, like, you add, like, major to anything cool.
You add minor to
anything awful.
Yeah.
Like,
this movie's really good.
It's great.
Like, it pays attention to the details. Everyone is fully fully invested, and, like, it commits to the bit and just goes hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is earnest and sweet, and rich people are the bad guys.
Yep.
It's perfect.
Yeah. So I guess we're done.
And the bad guys lose. But, so Zenon gets sent to Earth. She meets a bunch of, like, Earth kids, and they don't understand or think she looks weird. And, but this boy's so dreamy.
Dressed so funny.
Yeah. Who gives a shit?
I don't know.
Kids, I guess. And Zenon's staying with her Aunt Judy, who never takes any risks. I thought I'd be married by now, but I just don't like putting myself out there. Aunt Judy was the worst character in the whole movie.
Zenon was her hero.
Yeah. Aunt Judy was the worst character in the whole movie because she had no personality.
You know what, though? At the time, I loved Aunt Judy because she seemed like such a cool aunt. I feel like...
Because she let Zenon get away with everything?
Yeah! I was like, oh, her aunt's just trying to help her get back to the space station. How cool.
I guess. It felt like the aunt had been put in a pod and was just waiting for Zenon to come down and, like, pop the bubble.
Teach her how to live her life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
You're right. You're very right.
But, like, Zenon learns to appreciate the planet. Like, hey, you actually get to have things out here for fun. Not everything has to be functional. Hey, look, flowers.
Flowers.
Anyway,
horses.
Enough of that. I gotta get back to space. Because I found out that the earring that my friend Raven Simone made for me is actually the disc that the bad guy used to put the virus on the space station. Coincidentally.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, one of Floppy Hair's friends is a tech wizard, figures it out.
13-year-old tech wizard who can break into essentially, like, Tesla.
Corporate
like,
espionage.
Yeah, like, whatever.
And, like, not only does he break in the same night that his computer gets destroyed, he devises an antivirus that if you go and you put that back in the space station, it'll be fine.
I mean, as you do.
As you do. Kids these days, or kids those days.
They're so underestimated.
Kids in the days yet to come. But like, oh, it's convenient that this prodigy was here. But yeah, anyway, very fun. So Zenon tries to get on a supply ship going back to... Oh, Zenon has moments and rides on a horse because it couldn't be a DCOM without a horse.
No, when she starts to fall for the floppy hair boy.
Yep. And then...
and did we mention she won the concert?
Oh yeah, she won the contest.
So this is part of the worst part is she's getting sent to Earth during this contest where she's supposed to win. And no one has told the band yet that she got sent to Earth because she's just going to wait till the last minute and hope that she gets back in time.
It's true. And also, why would you tell him? It'd be so sad. And like, so she tries to get on a supply ship heading up to the space station. She tries to call her parents and let them know what's going on. But they're like, no, everything's fine. Just be on Earth. And then they're lying to her about the fact that the space station's basically like imploding.
Meanwhile, Mr. Lutz, who like... was the right-hand man of Elon Musk, is trying to find the disc that he lost and realized that he saw her earring. And so now he's, like, stalking her and, like, breaks into her aunt's home. Yeah.
Trying to get that earring.
Her. Then eventually just walks in and is like, can I have it?
Yeah. And then makes a deal where he's like, all right, great, I'll get you back up there. And then he gets the earring and is like, all right, no. And then leaves. And then Zenon's like, surprise, surprise, I just made fake earrings. And I planned for this. Okay.
She's so smart.
Here's the thing. I'm okay with it because I want that to happen in more movies. Where it's like, yeah, clearly this bad guy's coming after the doodly whoop or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, it's clearly the MacGuffin. I should be prepared for that. And in so many movies, it's just like, oh yeah, I've had so many opportunities to prepare for the bad guy to come here and take the MacGuffin. I'm not gonna, though. And this is like one of those... This probably is a movie that, let me start having the feeling of, oh, we don't need to let the bad guy get the MacGuffin. I can just be prepared for that. Mm-hmm. And she was. Which is great.
Because she's smart.
Because she used nail polish on other discs.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it worked.
Yep.
But of course, the disc that she gave the guy had a Jack in the Box of her face.
So then he opens the disc and it's like she's planted a virus or whatever fake thing on it.
It was just, yeah.
And I'm like, wait, did you do that before or after you painted it with nail polish?
I don't know. Whatever.
It was great.
So she can't get back on that ship, so she ends up tracking down Protozoa as they're getting on their ship to go up to the space station, and reminds him that she's the contest winner because there was a picture of her on her winning contest entry. And he's like, well, I guess you were. It would be weird if I went up to the spaceship and you weren't there. I have bleached tips. It's weird. He just kept saying that the whole time. His most
bleached tips. It was the name of his famous song.
Yeah. His two most recurring lines are zoom, 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 and I have bleached tips.
Mm-hmm. Bleached rhymes with a lot, apparently.
It so does. But she gets on the ship. Lutz and Parker Wyndham also get on the ship because they need to make sure that she doesn't save the lives of everyone she's ever known. And then she goes and saves the lives of everyone she's ever known. Mm-hmm. And then we get to see Protozoa do a concert.
Yeah.
And a movie.
And they get arrested, and it's great.
It's great. Everyone wins, no one loses except for the bad guys.
Yeah.
It's good.
Wonderful. It's good times.
Yeah.
Zenon's good times.
So what do you want to do?
So I think we're not remaking it, right? That's the.
Well,
it's good to go as it. No, I'm just kidding.
Like I enjoy this movie a lot, but it is wildly 90s.
Oh yes. Yes.
And like we might still lean into that, but like if the studios are going to be, if Disney is actively looking to remake DCOMs, how can we make sure that they do this one correctly? What is needed for a modern Zenon girl of the 22nd century?
Oh, 22nd.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I don't think we need to highlight the fact that Chelsea Clinton is president in this version.
Oh my gosh, I love how many times it was said that Chelsea Clinton was president.
Chelsea Clinton.
It was like, guys, we're really, in case you didn't know, we are in the future.
Yes.
This is the future.
Yes. It's weird. But yeah, like 100 years in the future, 150, whatever. When would you like to set it?
Well, see that, because I like the idea of changing it to 20 seconds. So maybe I do go 100. I had done, because like when this came out, it was 99 and it was set in the year 2049.
Yeah.
So it was like 50 years in the future. So I was just doing that math of like, so it'd be like 2074 or whatever. But if you do go a little extra, then you're like, then we can do 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It's more
We're
fun.
doing Zenon
so
Girl in the 22nd
I'm gonna go with
century.
that. I'm going to say that.
We do 100 years in the future.
We do 100 years in the future.
Whatever.
Which could be wild for our planet.
Yeah. It's 2225.
Wow.
That's not how that works. It's 2125.
Yes. We're going 1,000 years into the future. All right.
Not 3025.
Whoa.
Oh, man.
I might have to make some adjustments here.
Oh, remember Oceans?
I'm so sad. Yeah. But, so 100 years into the future.
Yeah.
Zenon on the 22nd.
And we have a little girl living on a space station. Funded by private equity or funded by the government?
I say, it's funny because I would say more private then than the original. Like,
I want to go, yes, that's definitely true. I want to go another way because at the end of this movie, it's still owned by Parker Wyndham. Mm-hmm. I think what we can do is, I think that we can go a separate plot, and I'm just kind of coming up with this on the fly, of it is somehow the country's like, it's the United Nations USS spaceship, whatever. And the rich guy is coming up to try to privatize it, to try to be like, well, it's still government funding. Like, I could give you a lot of money, but what he's actually doing is trying to steal a secret so he can make his own and completely privatize it and say, oh, this government funded one was very bad. So he's stealing secrets, sabotage, doing his own.
Okay, so going with that, because this is kind of, so my idea had been,
tell me,
space station, old news.
Oh.
We are now at a point where people say we're going to be living on the moon in 10 years.
Oh.
Or like Elon Musk is trying to take us to Mars.
I mean, I don't want Elon Musk in this movie.
I don't want Elon Musk in this movie. But I think rather than space station, there's like an outpost on the moon now. There's like some sort of like domed, like glass, whatever. Like they've created a habitat for people to live.
You know, there's whalers on the moon. And they carry a harpoon, but there ain't no whale, so we tell tales and sing a whaling tune.
Oh my goodness, Sam.
I will reference Futurama.
Okay.
Whenever I get the chance. I'm sorry, continue.
But yeah, so I say we like, and going off your idea, like maybe that's government funded, but then there's some private dude who's like, I think we could take this to Mars or whatever, or like make it better and privatize it, like you're thinking. And so you're right, it could be like government and then becomes, that's why the sabotage then.
Yeah, I mean, heck, we can even go the other way of, we can go super futuristic of there is a base and a dome on the moon with a Hyperloop elevator to a space station hovering above it.
That's interesting.
Because they figure out that they can't actually do like a Hyperloop elevator on Earth because gravity's too strong, but you know where gravity's weaker? The moon.
The moon.
And you know where gravity's also pretty weak? Mars. And so the idea of being able to go back and forth between a planet on the surface where you're on the ground, but then if you expand out into space, you have so much more real estate and able to go back and forth. And so you can do moon to space station, and you can travel back and forth between those things. And that can even be how Zenon gets in trouble at the beginning, is because she can get in the elevator, the hyperspace elevator or whatever.
Ooh.
And it stops in the middle. So they have to figure out a way to like winch it back up.
That's great. That's fun.
And so that's what they're trying to figure out how to do. And then Parker Wyndham's coming up with just a big scissors to...
I like it. I like that.
Okay, so that's our cool, like, super futuristic-y... I don't know how we would do that. But, like, that's kind of our idea. That's our setting.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what you were thinking in terms of plot.
So, here's my thought. My first thought for plot. Partially because finding 13-year-olds to cast this with is difficult.
I'm aware.
So my idea, not to like go crazy, but to age them up slightly.
We're not doing it.
To be 16 years old.
Nope.
Why?
It's gotta be 13. It's gotta be a DCOM. You gotta...
But see, where I'm at is that we're not making this again for Disney Channel. We're making this with a bigger budget, and because the setting is fucking cool and like the concept is cool, but it's gonna be a comedy, so it can still be wacky. It can still have silly hijinks. But it's bigger budget,
the number of people who come on this show and say, I don't want to do things with children because that's too hard. Let's age them up because I can actually do the research and find people.
I have plot reasons too.
It happens all the time.
I have plot reasons too.
All right, continue.
First of all, 13 years old is like, yes, it's like you're coming of age to an extent, but to me, like 13 is still more like, I don't know, like puberty and like little, like small, like things that you're dealing with. Whereas like if you're 16 years old, you're dealing with a lot more social issues. Like at school, you're dealing with a lot more pressure from parents. You're like, it just feels different to me. Mm-hmm. And where I think differently for this movie is not to make it like, we're still going to do like a musician, still have like like sort of a contest, but like rather than set it as like the only thing that's happening is this first concert in space, like make it more about the kids and about like what they're going through. Because like right now, Zenon's very plot heavy. It's fun, very plot heavy.
It is very plot heavy.
Not as quite like character driven. Like it is character driven to an extent, but like she's very obsessed with this virus and whatever. What I love about Zenon is like figuring out like as a girl, like how is she living in this world? How is her life affected by the fact that she grew up in space? How is her outlook different? How is her future going to be different? So like having it be where they're a little bit older in high school, but still in high school, and have it be like, this is homecoming or the prom is coming up, right? Mm-hmm. And Zenon in the movie, like, though she ends the movie great and like helps out her family and her friends and is like a little selfless at the end, she starts the movie kind of selfish.
Yeah,
she is like very much like, Protozoa's coming? Of course I'm gonna win this concert. Like her friends are right there, equally excited.
She's not wrong, but
she's also like, this is like my moment. This is like all about me. Yeah. And so I'm like, here's a girl. Let's say she's 16 years old. It's homecoming. She's like nominated for homecoming queen. This is like her thing. Like she's like clearly like one of the most popular kids. There's not a lot of kids in space, but like they're still doing this up. Though I don't know, maybe in 100 years there's more. Society's bigger.
I mean, you can really have the two cliques of the moon kids and the station kids, but they all have to like go
competing high schools.
Well, yeah, kind of like they actually get to have the competing with each other. Here's my issue with casting 16-year-olds to play instead of 13-year-olds. When you and I watched this movie initially, we were 10, 11 years old, and so we were watching kids who were only a couple years ahead of us, but were definitely kids. The way a lot of these movies work is that if you're casting 16-year-olds, or if you're playing 16-year-olds, the people playing the 16-year-olds are 24.
But not in Zenon.
No, because she's 13.
Right. So
no, I'm explaining why I have a problem with aging them up. Because if the magic of Zenon is that it is, and the magic of the DCOMs, a lot of them, is that a lot of times, not every time, certainly in in the DCOMs there were teenagers. But in this one in particular, she's 13 and they haven't done their growth spurts yet. They still seem like kids. And I feel like that's part of the magic of what this is. It's the Goonies era thing of kids watching kids go on an adventure, and that's what's appealing to it. And that's the magic of the original, is that's what draws people in. If we are purely from a producing side of it, going with 16-year-olds, then there's no way production isn't going to cast 18 to look youngers, because then they can just film for as long as they want because they're legal adults. I have a really hard time, and it's happened a couple of times in the show, and it's always bothered me, taking 13-year-olds who are what that movie was initially, and more than likely setting up a situation where they could be played by 24-year-olds. Because then, as a kid, I know, but that's what would happen.
Well, I have cast who are all 16 or 17 years old.
We can talk about it when we get to casting, but like I really looked for 13-year-olds. Like I went. I mean, so I have
hard. Some, but I feel like I just to counter, like, and this, granted, like, yes, I made a joke like this. It's easier to cast older, but like
it is.
I truly think plot wise that the problems of a 13-year-old are less significant than the problems of a 16-year-old in terms of like.
I think that's true,
and I think at its heart, this should be a coming of age story.
I think both of those things are true. I kind of think that that's what some of the magic of the original is that it is like for 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds, their problems feel a lot smaller of, oh, I need to be able to go dance with my favorite musician, of, oh, this boy likes me and I don't know what to do. And they are smaller problems, but they feel bigger. As opposed to a 16-year-old who has to figure out what they're going to do with their life based on which college they want to go to. I think that it's the last era where you don't really have to think long-term. It's really just, what is the problem immediately in front of me? How am I going to balance that and get all my homework done?
Fair.
But, all of that being said, that's casting's issue. We're still talking about plot.
Right.
So we're on the moon. We've got a hyperspace elevator from the moon to a space station. We've got some rich trillionaire who's coming to check everything out. Or is something else happening? Who wants to take this technology and apply it to Mars.
Sure.
Is what we had so far.
Yeah.
What else happens?
Well, I think at this point, I think we would need to figure out what is going to be the impetus for her. Like, are we still... I guess the question, is there still going to be a computer virus? Like, what are we going... I don't think there can be. I feel like there's, like, to me, and part of why, too, like, I thought this should have a bigger budget is, like, 100 years from now, like, look at the way AI is right now. Like, that's going to be huge. Like, is there something with that? Like, is there something, rather than a computer virus, like, is there something with AI that this person's messing with on the station?
Well, for one thing, her hologram teacher is definitely AI.
Right. And actually, we'll get to it, but like, I want Miss Judy or Aunt Judy to be AI.
Okay, that'll be interesting. That's very funny. I think we absolutely can do that. I mean, theoretically, you could also do just like AI racism, but I don't think you need that.
I think that's a different level of... That changes the...
Yeah, I feel like that's message, a different movie. I feel like especially in space, it's a learning process, and you can absolutely blend those things together. Especially if you want true learning software, you can introduce it as fellow kids because they're going to school and learning at the same way and rate as the other kids who are there. Mm-hmm. And so whenever you have to team up to do school projects, you can have a human kid and an AI kid having to team up together because they're going to think differently and you want them to learn from each other about their different thought processes.
That's great. Yeah.
That's fun.
So yeah, I couldn't figure out what I wanted like it to be specifically, but I felt like computer viruses. So like at this point, like if the space station is being taken down by just like a disk and a thing, like it seems very implausible.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, but I guess it also, see, here's where like tone, it depends on the tone too. Cause like when I was initially seeing this in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, slightly bigger budget, but like theatrical release and like full out comedy, like still like, you know, kids, like family type movie, but like comedy.
Yeah, of course. It has to be a comedy. Right. I cast so many comedians.
And so like that's, yeah. So if like we're casting like funny people and like we're like, this is the crazy plot, like do we lean into a crazy plot of like something as silly as the disc, or do we try to go more realistic?
So
you know what I mean? Like it could be so silly that it's ridiculous. Like look at like Have you seen Barbie?
Yes.
It's like, look at the executives in Barbie. Like,
Yeah.
it's absolute madness and
It is.
ridiculousness.
Yes.
And you're like, great, keep giving me more of this.
What I did with, I think when we recast The Matrix, when we were updating The Matrix, what we did was we infected the Wi-Fi. And like how they got, because like in the original Matrix, they get in and out with landline phones, which doesn't really apply anymore. And it was instead, they just had to get to the appropriate IP address for the Wi-Fi, and then they would get like dissolved into and like transported away via that digital platform.
Interesting.
And I feel like if we're doing corporate espionage, we either can be destroying the thing that exists or stealing the information. And especially if we're going with all of this, we can go corporate espionage and it's uploading files or downloading files. And we can even lean into the spacewalk of it all of they figured out how to put AI into like a robot spider that's able to get out and can climb up the hyperspace elevator, can climb down. And basically what it's doing is you can even have it filling up with information. Like you can have a visual realization of it's filling up with information. It's stealing information from the moon base hub and from the space station because and the reason why they're able to justify the expense of these things existing is because they're doing experiments where they can only get certain results in space.
Right.
But if they steal that information and bring it down to Earth and they get the same results of like, oh, we just figured that out. Like, we only figured that out last week. How could they possibly have that information already? That way, he's able to leech off the funding for the space station for his own thing. He's basically taking all the funding for public schools and making a charter school.
Right. Okay.
He's doing the school voucher thing of, yeah, you could go there and get like the public version, or you could pay a little bit extra and get my private version that is really also government funded and is a huge problem. Of like,
and available to you though.
Yeah. But like doing that of like stealing the information as a way to boost up and basically leech off their government funding to do the same thing on Mars.
Okay. I like that. I think at that point then we still have to find a way to put the whole thing in jeopardy at some point.
We do. Because, you can have this robot, AI, spider, whatever, stealing all the information, and then when it's gotten all the information and beamed it down to Earth, it can explode. We can just go with it's a simple bomb. And,
I like a bomb.
Yeah, and you can have it be a bomb on the hyperspace elevator thing, and all it needs to do is explode in the middle, and then the space station drifts out into space. Because it is still tethered to the moon, and now it wouldn't be, and that would be a whole problem.
And now no evidence either.
Yeah, because it blows up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I like going a little broad with it. I think that's good. Like, being a little silly with the sci-fi of it.
So that's the stakes and what's going on. How does Zenon find out, and does she get grounded to Earth? Or does she get grounded to the moon?
I think she has to get grounded to Earth. I think that's just like a staple of the movie. Like,
yeah.
And I don't think
it's a fun play on words.
Yes. For anything else, is that her parents can say you're grounded.
Yes.
To Earth.
Yes. No. Grounded, as he points out the
really
window.
You're grounded, yeah. Yeah, we see the Earth through the portal.
We also get to have the benefit of getting to see what Earth is like in 100 years.
Yes.
I remember the sun.
Also, yes, and like truly, there's like, I don't think because it's like we're talking about a coming of age movie and like for people of all ages, like I don't think should be like a politically social movie, but like there's definitely room for a little bit of commentary. And like Zenon in the first one was like, I don't want to go to Earth. Like they have tornadoes and
weather
like,
phenomena,
whatever. And now it's more like, oh, I don't want to go to Earth. Like the air's bad, and there's like places that are now just underwater.
There's so much exhaust in the air.
Yeah, like,
and like you never know if it's gonna be a drought or a flood.
How am I supposed to dress?
Mom and Dad, do you want me to get flash flooded away?
Yeah. Which is great. And then there's also the room to be like, when she does get there and realizes like Earth can be great too, it's like, here's all the things in the future that if we actually like do some of them, like it won't be as bad. And like, so she like
actually figuring out how recycling works or whatever.
Like she's been told her whole life from people who've not lived in space, like how bad the Earth was going to get. And then she gets down there and it's like, oh, they've like taken on some like more like planet friendly practices.
Yeah.
And
And genuinely just like you get to explore. Like one of the things that they did a little bit in the movie as it exists is she got to go on horseback riding. She got to film in San Diego or wherever they were and like look out over water. And it is genuinely beautiful. And I don't think the movie they took the time to appreciate just the natural beauty of the fact of like, it hurt. Something's pretty. And like you can take the time to appreciate that, because then you can even end the movie with her decorating her room. Some pictures of protozoa, but also some pictures of waterfalls and sunsets and other things.
Oh, I love that. That's nice.
And that way she gets a little bit of both.
And that maybe she wants to like go back to Earth at some point. Like,
I mean, that's where her boyfriend is.
She's gonna get dual citizenship, okay?
Yeah.
The ending of the original movie is that she's back in the space station and he's just on Earth watching this concert via iPad.
Yeah, that was...
And he doesn't say anything. She just like occasionally like shows him the...
Every time, this poor actor, poor Greg, every time she was having to have like an interaction where like she's having to be super like Disney School of Acting big into an iPad, being, oh my god, I have to tell you all these things that's going on. He's just in the background, just dead face, just dead eyes staring ahead. His mind is someplace else. He is 100 miles away. Yep. Both in person and yeah.
Sometimes. But yeah, so like I would want him to be there at the end.
Yeah, because like I feel like they figure out how to get on the spaceship and they all like they can either all get on the spaceship or all get arrested. And it's like, well, I don't want to get arrested. And then away they go. So they all get to at least have the concert together.
Yeah.
We have a lot of our plot. You know what would be funny? Because Parker Wyndham in the original movie kind of disappears from the middle of the movie. And Mr. Lutz is kind of doing all of his dirty work for him. If we're going full AI, I think it would be fun if Mr. Lutz is the AI and he goes up and is a person, but then downloads himself into the spider or downloads a part of himself. And so instead, when they're back on Earth and Zenon is running around, we have basically two Mr. Lutz. There's the one who duplicated himself into the spider up on the space station, and he's communicating with himself with the core version of himself back on Earth because he's digital. There's no reason why he can't duplicate himself.
Right.
And we can have Parker Wyndham having to like occasionally run interference for the fact that they're communicating, because anytime he's like downloading or uploading information, he's basically that's all he can do because it's a lot of information. So when it's finally he shows up to just buy, oh yeah, how do they know Zenon knows about the spider? Something needs to be left behind.
Oh, that's right. We need to
figure that out. Like, there is no disc.
Huh.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
All right, so...
It has to be something he sees of hers.
Something he sees of hers. It also has to be something that she has. I mean, do you want to go real simple? Real dumb?
I like simple.
Real simple, real dumb is that she took a selfie and caught a picture of the spider in the background.
You know what? That's actually... I kind of like that because I was also trying to figure out how social media fit into this new world and like, is there social media? Is there like what has happened? And that's like, I feel like the biggest thought experiment of this movie is like, what is 100 years from now actually? Because the first movie weirdly got a lot of it right. Like,
yeah,
they're talking, it's 1999 and they're talking on iPads and
it's
like
true. Yeah,
FaceTiming.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And like, we never, like at that point it was like, that wasn't, sure that was something we might have been like, that could be cool one day, but like, we weren't nowhere near that. Yeah.
We had Visitels.
And now it's here, and that's just everyday life. So I'm trying to like, what is their everyday life? And like, they didn't have social media in 99, so like, that would have been very different for the movie as well. So like, maybe there is something to like the selfie.
Well, especially because then they don't need to see her wearing an earring of, like, the way social media can work is that, like, they can have a phone, they can have whatever, because it's fun to hold something. But they also... like, their feed can literally be in a haptic display on a glove. So they're literally just having a scroll of everything and everyone that they're communicating with at all times. And
it's kind of like the Google Glasses.
Kind of like the Google Glasses,
yeah,
but
something
on
a
your
little more
arm.
like yeah.
Something that isn't incredibly intrusive.
Or you could, like, you click it and, like, the screen pops up and now you're, like, you're doing the air stuff. You know, we've all seen the CW.
We've all seen the CW. Like, what I'm picturing is... like those news chyrons that used to run around buildings, like breaking news, tornado in Omaha. But it's just that, just on your arm, but with pictures and it's like LEDs on your arms. But it's that, and instead they're just like, what is going on with this kid? And it's like, well, the only way to get to know someone is to check out their feed. And they go to the feed, and it's like the spider's in the feed.
And not only that, now there's proof that there was something on the space station.
Yeah, so they have to get to her because they have to get her to delete the photo. which is great. That's why they're going after her. But that doesn't tell us what she has and why she needs to go back.
Well, she would have the information.
She also would have the information. There's also the fact of if she's being completely cut off from communication from her friends on the space station, she has no way of letting them know that the spider's there. Right. So here's what we can do. If she gets in trouble for taking the elevator and stopping it in the middle to watch the supernova or whatever, literally she can need to get up to the space station because it's reached a point the spider's going to climb to the middle and explode, where she's the only one that can do it. She has to get there. She's only able to communicate with them, and she's not able to communicate. I'm sorry, she's not able to communicate with her friends up there. She gets up to the station. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and she finally sees it on the rope, and she's like, "I know the way to stop it." And that way you get to call back to the fact of this, because in the first movie the spacewalk doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. But now
that's how she can get rid of it.
She can get rid of it. She takes the elevator and sends it down, and in sending the elevator down, destroys the spider at the right time. Mm-hmm. And it's sending the elevator in a way that it's not supposed to go, and that's what kills the spider and saves everybody.
I like that. I think that's perfect, and definitely a better callback then.
She's the only one that knows how to do it, and she's the only one that knows it's there because they figure it out from looking at her feed. Honestly, because Parker Wyndham and Mr. Letts keep trying to get to her phone and her, and trying to get her to delete the photo, that she scrubs back through it and goes, "Oh, it's this." Their meddling is what actually tells her that something's not right.
I like it.
Ties together.
It works.
Okay.
It works that it's just silly enough but just realistic enough.
Yeah.
Logically it makes sense, you know?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I don't know what else we need. And then we also need Protozoa, which is how she gets back up to the station. You don't have a Zenon movie without Protozoa.
No, because that is most of them. When people remember of that movie is the first quote that you made on this podcast.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Make my heart go.
Boom, boom, boom. Yay!
We did it!
My supernova girl. So
he needs to play a part.
He does. And it literally can be the exact same part of the only way to get back to the moon is to take Protozoa's private spaceship, which he's going to be going up to do the concert.
That's an interesting idea. I like that because we're at a point where celebrities have private jets. Why at this point the people are clearly living in space?
Yeah.
Don't some people have private rockets?
Yeah. Why not?
That's beautiful.
It's I'm trying to come up with some sort of Protozoa jetpack rocket pun, and I'm having trouble doing it. It's the Procketzoa. Nope. It's the Protozoa prototype.
The Procket.
Yeah, the Procket.
Yeah, the Protozoa
prototype?
Protozoa type?
Protozoa type.
The
yeah,
Protozoa
good.
type.
It's the Protozoa type. Sure.
It's a comedy.
Yeah. What do you want this rocket to look like, Celeste? Tell me about your dream non-phallic spaceship rocket for
non-phallic rocket.
Yeah, for a rock star.
I mean, it's a microphone, no?
I mean, that's a little phallic.
It's definitely phallic. What rocket ship isn't gonna be? Is it just a cube?
No, you know what? It's just a giant speaker. Because the entire idea is that it's a rocket ship that's also a speaker, so you can go into lower Earth orbit and do a concert and blast the concert down on an entire city.
Just forces music upon people.
That is correct. That is
what a hell to live in.
Correct.
Where any rich musician could just force you to listen to their music.
That's the future liberals want.
Oh, this is an awful... Zenon's right. Stay in space.
Well, in space, no one can hear you rock.
No. Oh, man.
That... literally, it's just a cube, and it's just, with just the jet, the... And then it gets
That's actually what's propelling it, is just, the subwoofers.
That's great. That's amazing. But I was thinking, you just see this, cube take off, you're like, it's just a box. How's that exciting? And then the propulsion turns off, and then you can tell that it's just a speaker.
You just, see, you get glimpse into, one of the houses nearby, and, the whole place just shakes like an earthquake momentarily, and the guy in there's just motherfucker. These fucking musicians.
Ugh. Kids today and their mandatory music. It's Protozoa time.
We're past the time of installing subs in your car.
Well, that's why it's the
Protozoa type.
That's why it's the Protozoa type. He's not going to get approval. People are not going to like it. Because that's what the sequel's about. People did not like it.
So in this version, the government's having him come up though for a concert.
But you can still, why not? Like it's
just to like promote.
It's
like helping. Look at all the science we're doing.
It's sending Taylor Swift to do something. Like it gets everyone's eyes on the thing. It's like, hey, look at all of these things. Aren't you glad you're spending your tax dollars on science and not war?
I feel like there's a real opportunity here for this private rich man who's destroying the space station to want to try to help with the protozoa type financially and get protozoa in his pocket.
Well, I feel like
Protozoa is not about that.
No, Protozoa ain't about that. Protozoa re-recorded all of his original tracks so he'd be free of the record company.
Oh man,
I mean, all Protozoa has to do is compete with Taylor Bot Swift.
Oh, she lives on.
She lives on. Swifties spelled with a Z at the end.
I mean, that is the name of the space station. No, we're getting crazy. Okay, we're now entering crazy.
But yeah, okay. So like that's exactly it. Of like Parker Wyndham can go nuts and want to take all the technology. So he also is like he's stealing information for the protozoa type, and he's trying to make money off that. He's just trying to make money off of other people's ideas. We've never heard of anything like that.
Nope.
No one pays for the ability to call themselves a CEO. That would be something a crazy egomaniac would do.
This is the most original movie ever.
We're pretty good.
I mean, we're breaking ground.
No one's ever come up with robot spiders before, and they've never been supposed to fight Superman and instead fought Will Smith.
I love that we're like veering into like half like Spider-Man movies and like we're getting to like just superhero meets sci-fi meets teen girl coming of age.
So in my head, the robot spider is like a little robot spider body, but it has a little robot head, and it's the head of the actor we cast as Mr. Lutz.
Of course.
And because I just find it really funny, especially because of the actor I cast for this role.
Oh, I can't wait.
And, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I can't wait.
I don't know if we have to do anything else for plot. What else do we need?
Well, here's the other, I feel like we still need to figure out, like, so we have the plot, right? And it's crazy and awesome.
Yes.
What is the, like, character, like, what is Zenon learning?
Oh.
You know what I mean?
How does she grow and change as a human being?
This is like the impetus of what, it doesn't have to be that, but like this was the impetus of like my, like, it's a school dance. Like she's the popular girl who like gets sent to school and like now she won't get her whatever. And like another thing I wanted to do in the remake would be the character Margie. There's a character in the original Zenon when she goes to Earth, this character Margie, who is awful and like basically like every line she has for Zenon is just a bitchy remark and like truly like you never really find out like why she's mean. You never like
she's just mean from jump and then like defends it as like, no, Greg's my boyfriend. And Greg's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And like even when they're saying I have to get back to the space station because all of my family and friends are going to die if I don't. And she's like, does that mean you're going to be leaving Greg alone? And it's like,
there's no like, yeah, like I feel like some people need to learn something in this movie, like, right? Like, and so I was like, if Zenon was kind of this person, like she wasn't a total bitch like Margie is, but like she was very much all about me, like I'm gonna win the contest, I'm gonna be the one, and like goes to Earth and is now confronted with herself essentially in this Margie girl, but an like Earth version.
That is more interesting.
And it's like maybe we learn a little bit about her, and they become like maybe there's like a friend like. In the movie, they do kind of like at the end get along okay, but like just out of pure like.
Is Margie in the sequel?
I don't know.
I'm gonna guess no, but I don't remember. I will say that Margie had one of the better lines in the movie where it was like, I've definitely seen this line used in other ways or quoted in other places. And it's at the end when Margie's like, well, it's a shame Protozoa is gonna have to get there without you. And Xenon's like, you're a genius. And Margie goes, I know. Why?
Yes.
And certainly as a kid, I think it's the first time I'd ever seen like that kind of like turnaround on the line. So it's one of those lines that sticks with you.
It's one of those lines.
Yeah.
But I want to see that be a thing that gets developed where like Zenon learns something being on Earth other than Earth can be cool. Like,
yeah. But I think it could be as simple as in space, Zenon is the popular girl. She's vapid and makes it all about her. And then she comes down to Earth and meets the popular girl who's vapid and makes it all about her. And then she's like, oh. Mm-hmm. Oh, no. I have to reevaluate myself and look at the person that I've become. let me go through and scroll through my Instagram and be like, or my TikTok or my Space Talk or whatever.
Space Talk.
And Space Spock.
Space Spock?
And like really evaluate the person that I am. Hey, what's that in the background?
Yes.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's good. That's
just giving it some more like depth and some more
Celeste, you're a genius.
You're a genius. Look, we're combining our two heads.
No, you're supposed to say, I know.
Was that? I didn't have that line when I was that.
A couple seconds ago, I talked about Margie's best line. You were listening. Right?
I know. Why?
We're making a movie.
We're gonna try it again later.
Oh my god, amazing. Yeah, I think that's a good arc for Zenon.
Okay.
And I think you were right to make us talk about it.
Also, setting on Earth. Where does she go on Earth?
What is the least spacey, moony location on Earth? Well, it needs to be like a town where people live.
Did you know this? Little trivia from the Zenon history. Based on a book.
I did see that in the credits, and I was like, really?
Based on a children's book where the girl has to spend the summer with her grandparents on a farm, but discovers that Earth can be good because there's a puppy on the farm, and there's a dog on the farm. The dog has puppies, and she helps deliver the puppies. And now Earth is nice.
I mean, I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to hang out with puppies.
I'm not saying we do that, but I was just like, that is where they initially did it. And then in the movie, they're like, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, also fair, maybe not.
But truly, where would it be like, what's like a good juxtaposition?
Because like in the movie, they'd say, we didn't send you to, like, Aunt Judy doesn't live in one of the LAs or the New Yorks, the way over technologically populated. She lives in like some small other town. It sure felt like San Diego.
It did kind of feel like.
But like, there's also horses, so it's just like, you can send her to, I don't know, Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
Send her to
there's like a little,
Omaha.
like, it's not like in the middle of nowhere. So there's enough to see like what the world is like.
Yeah, send her to Flagstaff. It doesn't, like, send her to a not big city, like a small town, Colorado Springs, whatever.
I like that. It should feel smaller.
What's
space
your hometown?
Is big. Clinton Township in Michigan, which is outside of Detroit.
We're sending her to Clinton Township in Michigan.
Great.
And that's
good luck there.
Well, that's perfect.
Global warming.
Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because what industry would really benefit from converting their existing resources into building spaceships and places to launch spaceships?
The auto industry?
The auto industry. So everything gets sent elsewhere, so you turn your existing factories into manufacturing plants.
Great.
And so she's living in Clinton Township, which is really pretty, but she needs to go into an industrialized Detroit to get back up to space, because that's also where Parker Wyndham is, where Mr. Lutz is, and where they're trying to take advantage of all these abandoned factories.
Great.
And
it's also got to be winter then.
It doesn't.
Michigan is like winter, like 5 to 6 months of the year, and it's awful.
I feel like it should be
And with global warming, it's going to be colder and more awful in 100 years.
So it's going to be April, May.
You just don't want to see people in snow.
Snow's so hard to film in.
We're not making it.
I mean, that's true. It's also...
No, it's fine. We can do it, but I'm more making a joke. But yes.
What would make someone from space less comfortable? Winter or summer?
Winter.
All right, winter. Okay, great. Then we're sending her back in winter because it's funnier.
Because it's cold.
Yeah, and then you get to have kids having their snowball
stuff?
fight and like, oh my god, there's just water everywhere. It sounds like your environment is leaking.
Yes, and she's gonna get sick.
Oh, immediately.
Also, love that. I love like the reality. I was like looking up this a little bit because I was very curious after watching the movie of like what it would actually be like to live in space and then go to Earth. Like,
you'd die.
Yes. First of all, there's no, like, the space station doesn't have, like, just artificial gravity 24/7. Like, there's, like, a bit, but you have to, like, work out, like, 2 to 3 hours a day to maintain your bone, like, your density. Otherwise,
sort of.
You're effed.
So the way the science works is that if you are spinning fast enough, there's enough pull towards the outside that it can kind of simulate gravity.
The station spins,
but and so it pulls you down to the floor, but it's not the same.
Right.
Because you'd still have the muscle atrophy. That's like...
So they would have to work out like crazy, like the actual people who work on the space station.
Like the actual people who work on the space station or the actual actors who need to be cast in this movie.
But yeah, when she gets to
GTL, baby!
She gets to Earth and just like tries to walk down the planet. And it's like, oh, my body's a little heavy. She would be like in pain.
She would be, but I also like the idea of her being like, oh, I'm not obligated to go do exercises for 2 hours every day.
Mm-hmm.
I can just, like, eat food like a human being.
Yeah, like, that's, like, her initial is, like, but where do you, like, where's your home gym?
Yeah. How do we do our obligatory things so our muscles don't burst?
Or what point during
school
do we do, our 3 hours of exercise?
Evolution led us to be comfortable living in this environment instead of jumping up and trying to make space work. Oh. I'm gonna go back on Instagram. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back on Spacestagram.
Spacestagram. Oh,
okay.
Anyways,
right.
okay.
That's a lot of our plot.
That's great.
We've danced around it long enough. I do think we have to get into our fucking long cast.
Yes, there's a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah. Let's start with the adults, because I think we're going to have the conversation about the kids, and we're going to have to make some of them robots.
Look, some of the kids I had, even though my thought was to go, like, 16, they still work for, they can play younger a little bit. Like, they're not, like, 16-year-olds can play a 14-year-old. Yeah, they can, and they do it all the time.
I know, but you can always tell. How old, well, let's look it up. It came out in 1999. Let's presume they filmed in 1998. Kirsten Storms was born April 8th, 1984, which means that for this movie, she was 14. Let's look up Raven.
Also, I believe it was her first movie.
I think
Raven
it was.
Simone's?
Yeah, she was born December 10th, 1985, so she's like a year and a half younger. Which is interesting because she looks the exact same age / older. But yeah, her first movie, she absolutely was 13 when they were filming. And
look, I'm not against them being 13. I just think you're going to get a wider net of cast.
Well, so this is one of the issues with this podcast in general. I am not a casting director, and I cannot actually cast for these roles and find 13-year-olds, which is what this movie would and should do.
Well, and in all reality, a movie like if you're going to make it the same, like, feel of the first, like, you're going to cast more unknowns.
Exactly. Well,
the adults might be stunt cast, but you're gonna, and since we're doing this, it's like, we're not gonna be like, well, unknown.
Right, like, in a perfect world, I think that's what you should do, because, like, I found 13 and 14-year-olds, and I think one 12-year-old, just by finding people who'd worked and stuff, but, like, I don't even know if they want to act anymore. Maybe they did that one project, and they're like, yeah, this was fun, but I'm never doing this again.
And, like, are they the good, like, perfect for that role, or is it just like, well, this person's 13?
Yeah, so, like, when it's adults, it's perfectly fine to, like, go and find people, because that's, like, how all this works.
Yeah.
But, like, for kids, it's so much harder. So I want to hear about all the people you cast, because you clearly put in a lot of work, and you did a lot of work. I will
defer to you.
Push us towards children, just because,
look,
like,
man,
that is
podcast.
important to me.
I'm here to help you.
Who did you have for your Zenon?
I had McKenna Grace as my Zenon. Who, she was in Ghostbusters Afterlife. She played young Captain Marvel in the Captain Marvel movies.
Yeah. She's very good.
And she's super, like, bubbly. Like, if I watch, like, interviews of her, she very much seems the personality of Zenon.
Yeah. I ended up pulling a lot from Abbott Elementary.
That's good.
Yeah, so the actress I had playing Zenon Carr is an actress from Abbott Elementary. She also was in something called Warped, which I don't know what that is.
Don't know.
But I saw her in The After Party, where she was playing a young version of, like, the main detective. Her name is Mackenzie Lee Foster.
Okay. Oh, she's cute.
Yeah. She's a cute little girl. The right age.
Fair enough. I'll go with that.
Yeah. We'll come back to that. My Nebula, I went with a young actress who I think is actually a year older. I saw her originally as young Nami in One Piece, but she was also in Blonde as the little girl, and had a few episodes of General Hospital. Her name is Lily Fisher.
What I had for Nebula was to...
obviously, like, make her a robot.
I mean, everyone's a robot in this movie, right?
Well,
Didn't we decide on that?
It was like 50-50, right? Like, a human and a robot, and they're, like, growing up together?
That would be really fun, actually. I had gender swapped this one.
Oh, okay. Tell me.
And I don't know how many people know him as well, but when I had worked on Single Parents with, like, a lot of the kid cast there was a kid named Devin Trey Campbell, and he has, like, one of the biggest personalities of any child actor I've met, and was just delightful. And I thought it could be fun to have, like, rather than Zenon have a girl best friend, have a guy best friend. Like, no attraction, no, like, we don't play any of that.
He's a robot.
Yeah, well, who knows what people do with robots, and I don't know. We're going into R-rated territory now.
Let's assume we don't. I'm perfectly happy making Nebula
He's 15.
Well, he's 15. I think that's fine, and I think it's fine, especially if we lean into the fact that he is a robot.
Okay.
Because they built him to look one way, and he'll get upgraded later.
What's funny is on the show, he was always one of the older kids, too. And so we got to a point where, like, at some point we're going to have to explain why this kid is still, like, in the second grade, but, like, his voice is dropping. So it was, like, always
I did background on the middle when I was, like, 23, 24. And they're in middle school. And I'm playing a middle schooler walking around. And it was like when you look with all people who are that age, you don't really think about it. But then for like some graduation scene, they had us peppered in with actual children. And so I was sitting next to an actual like 11 or 12-year-old. And I'm like,
this is
but
weird.
no, though, right? Like we can clearly tell that this is a child.
Our brains have just been trained to like recognize that a certain age is younger, even though it's not.
Yeah.
I go back and watch like, what are all those like high school movies? Like One Tree Hill and... I don't know, just like any of those movies where they're clearly High School Musical, where they're like, one of the girls is like 25.
Yeah. It's the old joke about Dawson's Creek where they're just all like 30 for 16, which again is what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, no, I don't want that. I definitely never wanted that.
It's one of the things that was cool and accepted in the 90s, but you can't get away with it anymore.
No, nor should you.
And like everyone kind of like expects kids to be kids now.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you have for Zenon's parents?
Parents, I went Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd.
That's interesting. As soon as you said Amy, I was like, did we have the same person? No, we did not.
I don't think it quite works with who you cast. So
no, but sort of.
But I guess in this world too, like
Well, I kind of did a mixed family as well. I had Amy Acker for the mom.
Oh, I love her.
From Angel, Cabin in the Woods, Person of Interest, and then her dad as Lamorne Morris.
Oh, I love Lamorne Morris. He's great, too.
Yeah.
I worked with him on New Girl.
Oh, there you go.
He was hilarious and very easy to work with.
Good. And so I thought, like, they'd be a fun couple. Like, whether they're both the biological parents or not, like...
I don't think we have to explain.
No.
Especially 100 years in the future, like...
No, it's irrelevant.
Yep.
I was like, I just think they're fun and funny, and I think that they are comedians who are also good actors, and I think that you can make that work. I don't know who either of those two are that I would like. If anything, I would replace Amy Acker with Paul Rudd or Amy Poehler. But if we need someone to speak a bunch of science stuff,
I know I see her doing the science too. Maybe because we've watched so much Angel.
I haven't watched any Angel, but
I
have watched a lot of Dollhouse.
Okay, yep, Dollhouse too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could replace Amy Acker with Amy Poehler. I feel like that's the only one that would work. Like, she could certainly do the monologues, but she would be playing against...
I was going to say,
she'd be playing against type.
But I also see, like, playing against Lamorne Morris. Like, I feel like I see... I don't know if I believe the two of them as a couple versus, like, Amy Acker and Lamorne Morris.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or am I wrong? Maybe I just, like, would need to see it, but, like...
We need to see it, but I tend to agree with you.
I think... Why don't we just go with Amy Acker? Well, I guess I don't know what we talk about this afterwards, but I think let's go with Amy Acker and Lamorne Morris.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Then who did we have for your AI Aunt Judy? Who theoretically could even be someone that Amy Acker built.
I had Heidi Gardner from SNL.
Oh, I don't know this person. Tell me about Heidi Gardner.
She is just very funny and has, like, her reactions, like, she has very, like, great facial reactions to things. I don't know, like, I could see her being, like, a little bit of the, like, because, like, I feel like Aunt Judy would still need to be a little bit of the, like, ditzy character, like, the, like, free spirit, even though she's not crazy and, like, completely, like, hasn't lived a life.
Absolutely.
But
she still needs to have, like, lived a life.
Yeah, and, like, can still be, like, a bit of a
person.
Fun aunt, like, and she has that quality, but I could also see her, like, pulling on, like, a robot, like, if she is an AI, of, like, having moments of just, like,
Sorry,
the computer.
I was watching Space General Hospital in my head.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
What were you saying? You had a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's better. I think we should go with her. My Aunt Judy was Sheila Carrasco, who I know as Flower from Ghosts.
Oh.
She's also in I Think You Should Leave, and she's in something called apparently #VanLife, which is very on brand.
She is funny in Ghosts.
She's great, but I think Heidi Gardner is the way to go.
Okay.
Especially because I like it when people bring in people I'd never heard of. That brings us to Commander Plank. I'll go first for this one. I needed someone who with kind of like a hangdog expression of like, yeah, everything kind of sucks up here, but I'm in charge, so I gotta make sure it runs properly. And speaking of New Girl, there were a few people who I could think of to do that better than Jake Johnson.
All right.
Especially because, like, it's a little bit more of a better pair to put Jake Johnson with whoever Aunt Judy ends up being.
Fair enough.
But I'm happy to go with whoever you have for Commander playing.
I'm, like, just thinking about it. Like, I could totally see him playing off, like, oh, like, the woe is me. Like,
yeah.
I also gender swapped this one.
Ooh,
and
okay,
I had
hit me.
Ali Wong as Commander Plank.
Why Ali Wong?
I think she's hilarious.
Fair. I don't think that's arguable.
But, like, I wanted to gender swap it just because I was like, we're saying all these, like, great things about the future, and then, like, the commander of the ship, like, yeah, we hear Chelsea Clinton is president.
Yeah. Off
screen, but, like, it would have been nice to see, like, oh, yeah, there's just, like, a woman that's in charge of this whole space station, and, like, we're not even thinking about it, like, kind of thing. So that was my thought, and I like her a lot. You
convinced me. That's great.
Like, I could see her being serious if needed, but also, like, the, like, Zenon girl, like, come on. Like, we need, like, you know, we need to, like, shape it up. Like, I could see her playing, like, both sides and then still making, like, funny jokes. And,
Zenon,
like, when the ship's going crazy of, like...
Yeah. Zenon, I've seen your grades. You are smarter than this. Yeah, good. I love it. Cool. Then that brings us to Parker Wyndham. Who'd you have for that?
I had really trouble with this one. I did not know who I wanted to do for this.
I kind of did a cop-out for this one.
Who did you have?
I was like, well, we need someone who is very easily like, oh, you're the bad guy. You are the rich billionaire, trillionaire bad guy. Ben Mendelsohn.
Okay.
Like, it's like, I didn't overthink this one. I was just like, yeah, great. Ben Mendelsohn. If you need an Elon Musk type, Ben Mendelsohn can play an Elon Musk type. And Ben Mendelsohn is very funny and is very aware of the type of characters he plays. So he can kind of waffle back and forth of being like, yeah, no, I'm just some guy. I will kill you all, but I'm just some guy. Like, I love Ben Mendelsohn. I think he's great. So I didn't think too hard about this. I think there are amazing other actors who would be very capable of playing this role. But if you just went with, like, the A to B easiest thing, Ben Mendelsohn is that character.
I think I'm in for that. Because, like, I kept trying to think of, like, do I want, like, some comedian playing it? Do I want it to be more of, like, a straight actor? Like, just not, like, a drama actor that's just, like, doing, like, a fun, like, thing. You know, like, do you want him to be more serious? Do you want him, like, who do you want to hate?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I was having, like, for a minute, and then I put it for Mr. Lutz too, but for a minute I had, like, Fred Armisen, because I was like, he's kind of, like, he can do that, like, stare that's just, like, unsettling, but he's still he's a little too funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had a tough time, so I think someone like Ben Mendelsohn would be great.
Well, who did you have for Mr. Lutz?
Well, my Mr. Lutz was more of a... I had Jimmy O. Yang.
Okay, tell me about Jimmy O. Yang.
From Silicon Valley. Did you watch that show at all?
Yes.
He's the roommate that's always just, like around while they're, like, doing their hive mind stuff, like, working. Like, he just lives there.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy. He's he's weird, but he's funny.
Right. So I had him as Mr. Lutz just being, like, the weird guy who's, like, kind of just taking direction, but then... Like if he was following Zenon around, like, would it be, like, funny and creepy? Like, he'd kind of just be, like, he'd just, like, show up.
Like he'd be a little creepy.
He's just, like, he's just, like, there, and you're like, well, like when Mr. Lutz does the I just want the disc scene where he's just like, can you just give it to me? Like, yeah. For him, I could just see, like, I need, like, he just, like, she turns around and he's there. And it's like, you know, and, like, that's comedic in itself because, like, he can pull off that, like, I haven't said anything, but it's funny comedy.
Yeah, it's very vote for Pedro energy.
Yeah. But again, I was, like, very, like, I also, I had thought of other people too, but it was just...
Yeah, that's reasonable.
But as a robot too, I don't know.
I don't know. Like, for this one, I went very 1-for-1 for this one as well, but I also think this might be the first person I cast. Because I was like, well, it's gotta be this guy.
Oh, good. What is it?
I wanted, like, I think of everyone in this entire movie, the person who dresses the most ridiculous is kind of Mr. Lutz with his, like, trench coat suits.
Like, giant. Like, they don't fit him.
Yeah, it's like he's like completely devoted to Parker Wyndham. He's like, oh my God, killing people? That's so smart. We would absolutely do whatever you say. So I need someone who dressed ridiculous and is completely devoted to some random white guy. And I think historically the person who's best at that is Jim Rash. And, like, you picture if it's a little robot spider walking around and with a head going, oh my God, I'm going to get all of the data.
Yep. As the robot, 100%.
Yeah, like, I think... Yeah. So, it's two very different vibes. Mm-hmm. Jim Rash as Mr. Lutz would be very big, and Jimmy O. Yang as Mr. Lutz would be very small. Mm-hmm. Which also makes sense as a robot, because you're trying to blend in the background and not be seen.
Though I truly think his comedy is better. Like, he has such, like, good physical presence, and, like, just reading his expression, like his body language and expressions can be funny. So I think as a robot, he wouldn't be as good as Jim Rash.
If Jimmy O Yang was the robot, it's the kind of thing where he'd be like, oh, we're about to lose? Well, I'm changing sides then. As opposed to
give her away.
Yeah, as opposed to well, we're going to kill the robot. But as opposed to Jim Rash, who would be like, no, I'm with you until the very end, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the, like something like that. Plus, I mean, like, we want to bring a little bit of clout with Academy Award winner Jim Rash.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Yeah, something silly.
I like that.
So, who do you have for floppy hair? I mean, Greg.
Mine's probably not going to work because he's 17. So
17. Gosh, okay.
I had Jacob Tremblay.
Yeah, okay. He certainly has floppy hair.
He does have floppy hair. And he has that, like, vibe of, like, you can just look at him and he doesn't, like, he's a good actor. Don't get me wrong.
Of course he is.
Like, I'm not comparing him to Greg from Zenon, who, like, clearly was just, like, stand here and try to, like, not fall asleep during the scene. But, like, he's a good
where
actor.
Are you right now, Greg?
But I can see him playing the, like, sensitive, like, deeper, like, introspective guy who is kind of that character.
Yeah. If we were going with, like, teenagers, he is very good. Like, that is his vibe. If you look at him now, he looks like floppy hair teenager from any one of them, Anastasia or any one of those other
the floppy hair, man.
Floppy hair.
It's great.
Everyone loves it. My floppy hair guy does not have floppy hair. He's a young actor who was in Minari and Theater Camp. His name is Alan Kim. Yeah, he has a different vibe than the Greg we got in the movie.
No, I like it.
Exists, but yeah.
Look,
but
it doesn't have to be the same, but like truly that Greg was like very personality-less.
Yeah. But if we go but I'm perfectly happy. Like, so I also cast Andrew, his friend, the genius who like designed and fixed everything. I don't know if that's someone
I didn't do the friends because I was like, there's a lot of friends on Earth and there's a lot of friends. Yeah,
but
space.
I'm sure you did a Margie.
I did a Margie. But I didn't
We're gonna go with your Margie because now I think it's gonna be really funny if this 16 or 17-year-old is completely threatened by a 13-year-old, and that's very funny to me. So for my Margie, I had Vivian Lyra Blair. She was the little girl who played young Princess Leia in the Obi-Wan show.
Oh, okay.
She's very cute, very fun, and she's like has a lot of attitude, which is perfect for a Margie.
Yep.
She was also in Bird Box and Fatal Attraction, which is very silly.
I love when sometimes you Google these actors and it's like it gives you the picture from when they were like 5 and you're like, okay, but that's not
who they are now.
I'm like, oh yeah, she's young.
Yeah. But who did you have for your Margie? Because this is going to be extremely funny for me.
My Margie, I had Ariana Greenblatt from the Barbie movie. You know her from Barbie fame, who was America Ferrera's daughter in the movie.
And she's 16. Great.
And she is very, like, dry humor in that movie. Like, I always feel like if she was looking at me, I'd be a little like, oh, do you like me? I don't know.
So, in our version, I don't think she needs to be into Greg, but she just, like, is another person, just a mean girl at this school who just, for whatever reason, keeps antagonizing Space Girl.
I think that's great.
And I think that's really funny, because especially it's, like, the whole 8th graders picking on the 6th graders kind of thing.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, we don't need to fight over a boy.
No, that's silly. And you didn't have Andrew, which is kind of the tech genius.
Kid, yeah.
I cast an actor named Kevin Saula, who I've seen as young Usopp in One Piece. He's very good.
Okay.
He's very fun.
Yeah. Kid.
Went with that.
Great.
But I neglected to cast Protozoa. So whoever you have for Protozoa is in fact our Protozoa.
It's not the most original casting.
Doesn't matter. It's who we got.
He is a known singer who has been in comedies and been funny, and that is Nick Jonas.
Well, I want to know how you're going to dress up Nick Jonas in a ridiculous, futuristic way.
I mean, it would still... See, this goes into a deeper question, which is what is the fashion in 100 years?
You're going to have to tell me.
This is my thoughts on it, because this is just what I want to see. So, Zenon, as is, it's like very like 80s, 90s spandex. Like, it's clearly like outfits from the past, but repurposed as like, this is what the future is.
Yeah.
I think... in 100 years, we're back into, like, it's, like, 50s. Like, it's, like, soda shop attire up on the space station.
That would be so
but, like,
funny.
A little more futuristic. Like, we can have still, like, some of the, like, silver, like, the space blanket type material. Like, but it's a little more like,
you know what would be crazy
big
if
dresses.
we're doing that?
There's pockets. There's pockets though on the dresses.
Pockets
because
forever.
if we ever go back to a time when there's no pockets with dresses, we're just stupid.
Well, what we can actually do is we can put everything on the spaceship as like retro futuristic 50s era future space stuff. And like that's just how they live up there. And then they get down to Earth and they're just wearing clothes.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's really funny.
And
I
also,
love that.
like, if you could kind of keep the Zenon color scheme of, like, the turquoises and the pinks, because it's,
bright
like,
colors.
Soda Shop Diner,
Yeah.
That's,
Of
like,
course.
the thing, right?
Done. So easy. So that brings us... Did you have any other cast that I neglected to cast?
Commanders, blah, 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 blah. Nope.
Great. Let's talk about writer and director. Did you have a separate writer and director, or did you have a hyphenate?
I had a hyphenate, but again, this is gonna be... Because it depends... We haven't actually talked about this. So, like, I was casting up a little bit, but my idea was, like, more, like, a little bit bigger budget theatrical.
Yeah.
I feel like you're still on the, like...
Nope.
You're
budget
good.
theatrical.
Okay, so then...
I pitched a space station with a space elevator.
Look, but that could also be bad CGI in
It
a
could
great
be,
way.
but I
That's
wouldn't
like...
want it to be.
Okay, so...
So you have a hyphenate. Let me do my writer.
Okay.
You'll do your hyphenate, then I'll do my director.
Great. Go ahead.
My writer, I just was like, this would be fun. He's done 2 things that I think kind of fit the vibe of what we're going for, and one thing that when I was going through his IMDb that I was like, wait, really? Okay. So I found him because he is the writer of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which, if you haven't seen it, is genuinely one of the best movies I watched last year.
Really?
Without any caveats, it is an exceptionally good movie.
Okay.
The original Puss in Boots movie, not particularly good. This one, so good.
Appropriate for a 3-year-old. Can I show my son this movie?
Yes.
Great.
He also is the writer of Dora and the Lost City of Gold.
All right. Great.
Which also kind of like fits the vibe of what we're going for. And the thing that thought was nuts is that he also was the one who created the cape, which means nothing to most people. But if anyone is a fan of Community, the reason why we have the concept of 6 seasons in a movie is because Abed was a huge fan of the TV show The Cape, and he was convinced it was going to get 6 seasons in a movie, and it was canceled after like mid-season.
Amazing.
And this writer is the person who created The Cape.
I love that.
And it's just very silly. I got him for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and Dora and the Lost City of Gold, but I threw in The Cape because I personally find it hilarious.
I think that's great. I went a little bigger.
Great.
And this isn't... Okay, so I'm prefacing this with, yes, this person just wrote one of the biggest movies of last year, but that's not why I chose her.
You know what? I didn't pick her because I was like, there's a decent chance.
That is Greta Gerwig.
Yep. I'm perfectly
And here's why. So, like, did you have it written down too?
We'll get to that. I'm going to flip this paper around in a second. Keep talking.
She has done not only a movie where, like, she created a world in Barbie. Like, totally, like, granted, like, huge, like, shout-outs to, like, the production designer and costuming and, like, all the other people involved. But, like, she helmed this movie where they created an entire world that, like, didn't exist. Zenon, we have to create a world on the space station that doesn't exist. But she's also done, like, Little Women and Lady Bird, like, movies that are about young women coming of age.
She is absolutely the right person for this. And it's like, isn't it hard being a young woman? Isn't it hard being a young woman in the past? Isn't it hard being a young woman who's in fact made out of plastic, and that's fantastic? And she absolutely could be, isn't it hard being a young woman in space?
Yeah, and I'd love to see, like, taking her style and making, like, a sci-fi movie is
and if you want someone to do, like, the bright colors,
right,
Greta Gerwig is the right choice.
So that's where I went.
On my literal piece of paper, I had Greta Gerwig crossed it out, and then I replaced it with Ava DuVernay.
Okay.
And the reason why is because, like, despite a lot of the things that Ava DuVernay has done, like When They See Us in Selma, and even because of those, because obviously I think it needs to be directed by a woman, like, no doubt in my mind. But, like, Ava DuVernay clearly loves and cares about children's entertainment. Like, A Wrinkle in Time may not have been the best movie ever made, but she was interested and wanted to make it. Like, that's a story she wanted to tell. And I think that was relevant, especially because I made my Zenon a young black woman. A young black girl.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of relevant. I do think Greta Gerwig is the right choice, and I do think we need to go with Greta Gerwig.
I do like your point, though, about there now being a black female lead. There is something to, like, having
There's no, at the end of the
you
day,
can obviously do
we can
either,
absolutely
but-
have this written by Greta Gerwig and directed by Ava DuVernay.
Even though they would probably never...
Not even a little
Yeah,
bit.
Greta Gerwig's not at a point where she's not writing and directing her own movie.
Right.
But
So, like, I do think Greta Gerwig is probably the right person to write and direct this. Like, I don't know, she's our age, a couple years older. There's no way she hasn't seen Zenon Girl of the 21st Century.
oh my god, I'm sure.
Like, and we know she's good at adapting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason not to make a Greta Gerwig. I just wanted to feed in some other ideas.
No, I do, and I love that as a choice. I could totally see it as well. Fun fact, did you know that the guy who did write Zenon also wrote The Land Before Time?
I did not. That's amazing. Literally wrote down.
Love it.
But that's our movie. Let me take you through Zenon, Girl of the 22nd Century. Zenon Carr is going to be played by Mackenzie Lee Foster. Nebula is going to be Devin Trey Campbell. Mark Carr will be Lamorne Morris. Astrid Carr will be Amy Acker. Aunt Judy will be Heidi Gardner. Commander Plank will be Ali Wong. Parker Wyndham will be Ben Mendelsohn. Mr. Lutz will be Jim Rash. Greg, aka Floppy Hair, will be Alan Kim. Andrew, Floppy Hair's friend, will be Kevin Saula. Margie, the mean girl, will be Ariana Greenblatt. Protozoa will be Nick Jonas, and all of us will be both written and directed by Greta Gerwig.
Woo!
That is Zenon. Are you going to tune in to the Disney Channel to watch this movie?
100%.
All right.
Wait, I have one parting question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
In the original movie, the car of the future, the Volkswagen Beetle, apparently.
Yeah.
Everyone had a Volkswagen Beetle.
Everyone had it.
What is the car of 21, what year are we in? 21, 25?
Yeah, 2125. I think the car of the future are those little European cars that have one wheel at the front and two wheels at the back because they're the most fuel efficient and you can make them all electric.
Great.
And it's just them.
And there's a subscription service to use these, by the way.
Oh yeah, you can. Instead of having bird scooters, people just leave these little cars on the side of the road. You just get in and go.
Done. It's great. That's it.
They're called wheelers.
Wheelers. like a child's tricycle. They're like, what are those? Like four-wheeler? Or,
Yeah. They're the three-wheelers. We just call them wheelers now.
Yeah. And now we just use them as adults.
Oh my god. Celeste, thank you so much for being my guest on this episode and for
Thank you for having
me to return to this movie.
Of course.
So for anyone interested in following you or if you want to do plugs or anything, what do you want people to watch and or do on the internet?
Oh, sure. I guess, do people still use the Twitter, the X?
I don't, but
I guess I'm on there,
it.
kind of. Celeste Marie 14 is where you can find me there, or on the gram. But I guess just watch some of the stuff I'm working on. Watch Acapulco Season 3 when it comes out. It comes out soon. I don't know if it's actually been revealed when, so I'm not going to say it. But watch Acapulco on Apple TV, and yeah.
That's a good one. And so Celeste Marie 14, both on Twitter and Instagram?
On Instagram, yep.
Perfect.
That's me.
Good. If you're interested in following me, I am on Instagram at Ideal Remake, or you can follow me on Blue Sky, where I'm at Sam Gash, SAMGASCH. Or if you want to tell me to do more DCOM movies, you can go into the doobly-doo and get a link to the Dueling Genre Discord and tell me all about your favorite DCOMs and which ones I need to cover on a future Ideal Remake. But for that's the end of this episode. Celeste, we're going to end this episode the same way we end all episodes. What is your favorite quote from the movie Zenon, Girl of the 21st Century?
Zeta Cepetus.
Zeta Cepetus!
Should be an everyday lingo.
And will be.
It's the That's So Fetch of the 90s.
We're going to make it happen.
Yes.